Hey guys, what's going on? This is Brad from the Ed Army, and today, as you can tell, we are diving back into BT21 as we're about to cover another deck as we have more of the hero cards to talk about, but we're specifically nailing down one of our protagonists as we are going to be talking about specifically Hero and GAMMAMON today, as GAMMAMON will be the focus as we're going to be jumping into it now. But before, I have one little request of you guys, as you know, and that's to go ahead and accelerate the sub count. It helps when you guys watch and learn, but also it helps us out by growing the channel, and it always is a good thing. But you guys know when you're on What's the Scoop, you get a first look, and so do I, as you get to sit back, relax, put me in the background if you want, watch the video, or just simply do whatever it is so you get this information and I get to tell you. And you can go nowhere else as there is information for everything here. But we're going to be jumping straight into it as we are going over the cards for the GAMMAMON archetype. Interestingly enough, this archetype is comprised of a decent support line. So there are multiple champions, there's multiple ultimates, but still filling out the same thing and improving on what has already been the existing frame. So we'll go over all these cards today. We're jumping first into GAMMAMON, as I think GAMMAMON is the start pathway to go in. It is the egg for the archetype, but more importantly, it is the first egg reintroduced into this deck, because I do think it's about time that they have a specific egg Digimon for the GAMMAMON archetype, being that for GAMMAMON, when attacking once per turn, if this Digimon has GAMMAMON in its text or the hero trait, you draw one card. So it is a very solid card nonetheless, as we will be going down the rabbit hole, so to speak, of the different cards. We'll be moving into BT21's GAMMAMON, which I have talked about in the hero video, so if you haven't checked it out, go ahead and check out the hero archetype What's the Scoop, because you'll learn all about that. But going into GAMMAMON, it can digivolve on top of GAMMAMON or level 2 with the hero trait for a cost of 0. And during your turn, while you have 2 or fewer security cards or 3 or more hero trait tamers with different names, this Digimon may digivolve into SIRIUSmon in the hand for a Digi-Evolution cost of 4, ignoring its Digi-Evolution requirements. And for its inheritable effect, during your turn, this Digimon gets 2000 DP, is a dual color red and purple rookie. Jumping into the first of the level 4s, we have the brand new Batel GAMMAMON out of BT21. This one digivolves on top of GAMMAMON for a cost of 2, and when digivolving, if you have 1 or fewer tamers, you may play 1 hero Monokawa from your hand without paying the cost, and for its inheritable, this Digimon gets 2000 DP during your turn. Pretty solid. Jumping into the brand new Galoose GAMMAMON coming out of BT21. This one actually is a purple-red, which is the very first of these color combinations. It can digivolve on top of GAMMAMON for a cost of 2 specifically. Then its security effect, actually, at the end of battle, you can play this card out for free, which is really cool. And then on playing, when digivolving, by placing 1 Digimon card with the GAMMAMON in its name from your hand or trash as this Digimon's bottom Digi-Evolution card, delete one of your opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. And its inheritable is Retaliation, so very cool. Now, talking about the first of the level 5s, we have Kano-Weissmon, which can digivolve on top of any level 4 with GAMMAMON in its text for a cost of 3, and then on playing, when digivolving, by placing 1 Digimon card with GAMMAMON in its text from your hand as this Digimon's bottom Digi-Evolution card, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 7000 DP or less. For its inheritable, during all turns, once per turn, when this Digimon with GAMMAMON in its text would leave the battle area by your opponent's effects by trashing 3 Digimon cards from its Digi-Evolution cards, it doesn't leave. Pretty cool. Jumping into the brand new Regulusmon, this one is a dual color purple-red. It can digivolve on top of any level 4 with GAMMAMON in its text for a cost of 3, and then on play and when digivolving, by trashing 1 card with GAMMAMON in its text from your hand, give one of your opponent's Digimon collision, and at the start of your main phase, this Digimon attacks. So pretty cool until the end, or until their turn ends. And then on deletion, you may play 1 Kano-Weissmon or 1 level 4 or lower Digimon card with GAMMAMON in its text from your trash without paying the cost. And then on deletion, you may play 1 level 4 or lower Digimon card with GAMMAMON in its text from your trash without paying the cost. For an inheritable is really solid. Now we will relook at SIRIUSmon, where this Digimon can digivolve on top of any level 5 with GAMMAMON in its text or the hero trait for a cost of 3, and it has security attack +1 in raid as its innate skill. And then when digivolving or when attacking, by placing 1 Digimon card with GAMMAMON in its text or the hero trait from your hand is this Digimon's bottom Digi-Evolution card, delete one of your opponent's lowest DP Digimon. Very solid. First, we will look at the option before the tamer, being the strongest of brothers. And while you have a Digimon or tamer with GAMMAMON in its text on the field, you can ignore this card's color requirements. For its main effect, you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck and add one card with GAMMAMON in its text among them to the hand, and you return the rest to the bottom of the deck. Then the card remains into the battle area. Then for all turns, when an effect places Digi-Evolution cards under your Digimon, you can use this delay effect that one of your Digimon may Digivolve into a Digimon card with GAMMAMON in its text in your hand without paying the cost. For its security effect, you may play one card with GAMMAMON in its text and a play cost of 4 or less from your hand or trash without paying the cost. Then place this card into the battle area. Really cool. Looking at the brand new HIRO Amanakawa, this one at the start of your main phase, if your opponent has a Digimon, allows you to gain 1 memory, and during your turn, when effects place Digi-Evolution cards under any of your Digimon with GAMMAMON in their text or the hero trait, by suspending this tamer, you draw 1 and gain 1 memory. For its security effect, you simply play this card out. Now, that's all the cards covered. Let's talk about some of the more interesting dynamics of this deck before I talk about what this support's designed to do. I think one of the coolest things that I like about this deck is that they really focused on making sure the deck now relies on the slotting underneath sources now, and I really like that inclusion in the cards. So I want to start off by talking about where some of the improvements have been made for GAMMAMON. So one thing too is that they're very reliant on their hero tamers. So by including a new Battelle GAMMAMON that allows you to play out a hero while you have 1 or fewer is really solid, because you really need to have at least 2 heroes on field to really get max value. And what I mean is you really want like a hero that gives you memory and lets you slot sources underneath, but also simultaneously will be maybe the memory setter hero, or like any other way to just get a hero on field to kind of get more memory, draw cards, gain memory. Point is, it's really good to have access to a card like this. So by adding that more is really cool. Looking into Galoo's GAMMAMON, I'm a really big fan of this one because I think they fixed a big problem I really felt with this deck when I was like thinking about building it, is that the GAMMAMON deck's big weakness is that the deck is actually pretty linear of what it wants to do. It wants you to climb up the ladder, use the different effects of the GAMMAMON Digimon, and allow your Digimon on the top end to take advantage of the different effects of like the level 4s as well as your level 3s. But the bigger problem was actually keeping the stack long enough to make sure it worked. I think one of these problems was that in the original design of Galoo's GAMMAMON, there was a lot of deletion effects, which did synergize to some degree, but they only brought you back out a GAMMAMON, which really didn't allow you to cycle back quickly enough to get back to like a level 5 or 6 without having the warping Kennel Weissmon ready. So that was one of the weaknesses I thought the strategy had. But by giving them a security Digimon, this does allow you to kind of replace some of your other Digimon and allow Galoo's to really do something in the deck, because its on play and when Digivolving effect I think is actually very solid. Being able to allow you to place one of your cards with GAMMAMON into its sources, and then it's also from the trash, so you can recycle something, but also it allows you to delete a level 4 or lower, getting rid of Floodgate Digimon that might be being pesky, or just popping away level 4s that before your opponent can get set up. So very good. And having Retaliation is still a good effect, because if someone does choose to block, Retaliation can get rid of their Digimon. So all around, it's solid. Looking into Kennel Weissmon, I think what's interesting about this one is that this one allows you to effectively delete stuff on play and when digivolving, but it also refills a source into itself, which is very important for the strategy's new design, making sure that when you digivolve into Kennel Weissmon, it may already have a source underneath it. Now, what's interesting about this card is it does forego the ability of this Digimon gains the effect inheritable of all the GAMMAMON named Digimon in its sources, which is something opponent with the other Kennel Weissmons that allows you to gain the effects and abilities of, say, the champions. Now, this one forgoes it in the form of protection, which I still think is actually pretty good, because this deck definitely had a problem with like retention on the field. So by making sure it has protection, it really does allow the deck to kind of exploit this ability in the right way, but also allows you to kind of place back sources into your deck. So that you're not able to kind of protect, or trashing. So it lets you put the resources in the trash. So there is some synergy with like your Galoo's GAMMAMON to allow you to recycle those that you send off for protection for your stacks. So I do like that. Talking about the new Regulusmon very quickly, I think this card is very good for what it's worth. What makes it interesting is that it allows you to kind of understand what the deck is trying to do with this Digimon. What it's really trying to do is that it forces your opponent to kind of attack you, right? But what it's trying to aim for is delete itself, so that you're then able to cycle back something like your Weismon, like your level 4 lower Digimon if you need, like GAMMAMONs to search. I think it's a really interesting dynamic because this Regulusmon is more designed on making level 6's attack into it, so that if they die, or with this die, sorry, it allows you to cycle back your level 4s to build your stacks, but also to cycle back your your Weismons, so that you're now able to kind of get started on bombing down the rest of their field with like the new Weismon, or Digivolve into the Weismon to start accruing sources underneath it as you Digivolve until like your level 6s. So I do like that dynamic being added because it does make the deck a bit interesting. And it's on deletion, allowing you to play back a source, like I'm sorry, not source, playing back a Digimon from your trash that's GAMMAMON level 4 lower. Very solid, very good. Seriousmon doesn't need much talking about, I think, because this card is just very solid. I really like what it does. Does it replace some of your Digimon? It may, because I do think that this card is just very solid. 12k DP, raid, security attack +1. You know, that's just really solid as a boss Digimon for red in general, because you can out things, you can run them over. I think it's just missing piercing. Point aside is that you're also able to delete stuff by slotting sources underneath it with its when attacking and when Digivolving. So very cool. I think it's really cool. And for whatever reason, if you can unsuspend the Seriousmon, its attacking or slotting effect is not once per turn, so you can use it over and over. So that this card is just good. The Strongest of Brothers is a card I did want to talk about in the hero video, but it doesn't actually have any synergy with it. But what I like about this card is that it fixes two problems with this deck. First, it offers a little bit more searching, but what it's really trying to offer you is that when you slot a source in, this is like, think of it like a training, but also just a bit better in this deck, because it allows you to Digivolve into one of your Digimon into a Digimon with GAMMAMON in its text for without paying the cost. Why this is huge is that it does not specify level, it does not specify any specific requirement outside of slotting a source underneath a Digimon, meaning that this card can basically get you into anywhere position you want. If you have a level 3 and you slot a source underneath a GAMMAMON, that GAMMAMON can immediately turn into a level 4 for free. And then its security effect is just really good for allowing you to get a GAMMAMON or one Digimon with GAMMAMON in its text and a play cost of 4 or less from your hand or trash, and then you place the card into the battle area. The reason this effect is really good is that you can cycle back your GAMMAMONs that are already been either deleted or for whatever reason you had to lose a source, so you can get a resource back if it's hit, but also by placing into the battle area means if there's any way to slot a source underneath your Digimon, you can freely Digivolve back up a lot quicker. So this does facilitate a lot of speed, which is very good because the deck was actually rather slow. Talking about also the new hero, I think the new hero is okay. I think one thing that I like about the new hero is that it starts by being a memory booster first. So the main thing is that with the original hero, I think from RB1, that one's only problem was that I think it had to have a source slotted underneath in order to gain that memory and draw one. So what this has effectively done is that it has that same effect, but by being a memory booster first, means that on your turn you start with an extra memory. Then if you Digivolve for whatever reason, you're now able to, or sorry, not just a Digivolve. When you slot a Digi-Evolution card underneath from any effect, you're now able to also gain that memory and draw one card. So if there's a way to maintain that, you're now able to gain technically 2 memory and a draw. And I think for a deck like this, this really does accelerate the power, because now you have the ability to go into higher Digi-Evolutions. You have the ability to play more Tamers if you need. You have the ability to play trainings, memory boosts. The point is, the deck now has this ability to accelerate a bit more. And one thing I also want to mention is the dual colors now added to the purple line may be a future of what's to come for the remaining GAMMAMON lines, like Wezen GAMMAMON and why is my mind blanking on Kaus GAMMAMON. They may become blue-red and green-red, so they'll have more synergy, so you can play memory boost a bit easier in here. You'll be able to play training in here a bit better. Lots of interesting effects, like I said, that this deck now has access to, and it does kind of pick up a lot of its slack. I will say what makes this deck pretty good is that just it has the ability to kind of use the litany of effects against your opponent, but now what it really benefits from is that it just has consistency. One thing I think this deck was like massively missing was its consistency in terms of like its play style, because sometimes you felt like the deck really just wanted to make a big boss Digimon and destroy your opponent's field. Now it feels like what you're trying to aim for is consistently resource loop through your cards, where you are able to say delete them through the purple Galoosh and Regulusmon, but then cycle back with your other GAMMAMONs and then build up and also establish your Tamers. It allows you to do a lot more of the pieces that are a part part of the deck to make it more functional. It lets you cycle them a bit better in terms of just like having the ability to just do this and then move on to that, which is like my expression of being like, you can do point A, which is establish your Digimon, point B, which is your way to establish your Tamer, point C, which is a way to actually start hurting your opponent, and part D, which is like clear their field and like deal with their threats that way. And then with Seriousmon, you can just try to hit them hard with many security checks to try to win the game. Another thing I wanted to mention is the importance of cards now mentioning cards on the field. So why this is important is that before, cards did not specify on the field, meaning more of like the battle area, but on the field includes your breeding area. So why this is important is that you can use the strongest of brothers, in that if you had a level 4 in the battle area that was like Weizen Gammamon, or the purple Galoose Gammamon, or the green Weizen Gammamon, also like things like Bombermon and Zenmetsumon, they're all different colors specifically, but they're not red. But because of the way that the strongest of brothers is worded, you can actually use the card not having a red source in your actual breeding area, because it just has to have a Digimon with Gammamon in its text. The great example to also look is like the Adventure archetype. Both of those cards actually function with that word as well, meaning your Adventure type Digimon in the breeding area were also counted as having the Adventure trait on the field, so that you could use those options. This is also something brand new, and I do think this is designed to speed up some older decks that maybe have these new exclusive options to them, but allows them to move a bit faster, which I think in Gammamon's case, this is a fantastic card for them in the strongest of brothers, and the support is just very good overall to make the deck a bit more functional going forward. But guys, that's all I've got for you today. I do hope you enjoyed this, and as always, this has been Brad from the Ed Army signing off, and for all of you out there, to sign on.